What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. In this video, I will take you guys through a free draft for the upcoming double/blank game week 33. So I personally won't be using the free chip, but there's loads of you out there that are, and therefore I wanted to create this video for those of you on the chip as well as off the chip, just to show you the players that you guys should be targeting for the upcoming double/blank game week. So as you always do, to start off the analysis, I'm going to be going over the fixtures team by team, looking at the double game weeks, just to kind of focus and isolate those teams that you guys should focus on. Then we're going to move it to the actual draft, where I'm going to show you some interesting picks that I think you guys might not have looked at. So that's something you guys are interested in? Sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So the first talking point I just wanted to kind of go over and discuss slightly, it's going to be about template players on a free. So this game week, double game week 33, this question is going to be even more prevalent just because there's a lot of options, more premium assets such as Liverpool assets, Spurs assets that have a single game week, whereas others don't. So should you guys be going for these template options, I know Son, a Kane, a Salah, Trent, all these assets have a very high ownership, and I think it's all depending on where you guys are in the ranking system and your kind of ambitions. So you could come to me and say, listen Davey, I'm in the top 50k, I want to get to the top 10k on this free hit. I would suggest you go for some options that are going to give you the highest kind of expected value, and that'll probably mean some more differentials, maybe dropping a Salah, maybe even going for someone like a KDB who only has one fixture, but in terms of ownership isn't too high, but has relatively high gains. I'd probably suggest you drop Trent if you want to go for a double game week player, a defender that has a high kind of expected value, whereas Trent might not get as many points against United. But as you can kind of see, and as you probably discussed in your mind there, that is going to be very risky. Because what happens if Salah and Trent bang against United like they did earlier in the season? I mean, you're going to be looking at some massive red arrows, but that is the chance and the risk you're taking. But if you come to me and tell me, listen, I'm in the top 20k, I want to go for some maybe one or two differentials, want to go for some template options just to protect myself, then I would suggest you some players, maybe keeping a Salah and a Trent, just to kind of protect you against those owners. So this unfortunately is going to be a discussion that you guys go for with yourself. Sit down maybe late at night, think to yourself, do I want to go risky, do I want to go maverick, do I want to go kind of very conservative? You guys can literally go with any of those strategies and still get a green arrow at the end of the day. The draft I've presented to you in this video is going to be kind of some differentials, but largely more of a template kind of free draft. I've gone for some players like a Salah, Son, a little bit of a spoiler alert there, just to kind of secure you guys against those owners, because the last thing you want is for your free to underperform your actual original team. That's a thing that we see every single season. Sometimes people free it, but their actual original team would have outperformed them. So I don't want that to happen to you, because in these last couple game weeks of the season, it's imperative that you guys get those green arrows. But drop it in the comments down below if you want to have any discussion about this topic. I know there's going to be a lot of questions about the team that I select, but what I kind of decided to do was this video is going to be a little bit more of a template kind of a free draft. Then tomorrow I'm going to show you guys the highest projected point scorers of the game week, just that if you guys want to go maverick or differential, I will give you guys that option. But now going on to the fixture analysis of double game week 33, I'm only going to focus on the double game week players because obviously as an FPL manager, that's all you guys are probably going to focus on with your free hit selection. So I'm going to be going through every team one by one, kind of discussing their fixtures and what I kind of think of them. Also, I've given them my own rating. A green is a good fixture, a white is a mediocre fixture, then a red is going to be a red fixture. Now, some of these ratings are kind of just on my own behalf. Don't really take them too seriously. If you guys have any questions about them, drop them down below. Don't roast me too much on them. This is kind of just how I perceive the fixture, and it is a little bit based on the team that we're actually talking about. So the first team we're going to talk about is going to be Burnley, who have West Ham away and Southampton at home. Southampton at home, definitely the game you guys are going to be targeting, coming off that 6-0 loss to Chelsea. Now, are Burnley Chelsea? Definitely not, so that might be a little bit of a lower scoring game, but I just have really lost faith in Burnley over these prior game weeks. The only kind of player that fills me with a little bit of excitement from Burnley is going to be Cornet. That's had a good run of form, unfortunately missed a sitter in game week 32, but that wouldn't put me off going for a Cornet if you guys want to. But I just think that West Ham away game is too tough, even though West Ham will be tied from the European competitions. But I just don't have much faith in Burnley, unfortunately, and even their defense is looking a little bit bad. If I was in a free hit, I definitely wouldn't be including Weghorst though. I think that in terms of his playing time, that's going to deteriorate as the kind of game weeks go on. Looks absolutely shocking, and he might even lose his starting position. But now let's focus on a team that have things looking slightly better, but actually also slightly worse. It's going to be Arsenal, who currently have dropped off in form dramatically. It seems like whenever the top 4 debate or race comes into account, Arsenal just kind of choke, and that happened on the weekend against Brighton. And then also I think in game week 31, they also didn't get the win. So they will be looking to rebound in double game week 33 with fixtures against Southampton and Chelsea away. The Chelsea away game I don't have much faith with, but as I mentioned with Burnley, Southampton away looks like a great fixture, and I think that Arsenal can definitely get a dub against Southampton, and that's why one or two options might be selected, but I'm not really trusting Arsenal that much after the recent performances. We're then going to move on to the team with definitely the best fixtures for double game week 33, and that's going to be Leicester with Newcastle away and Everton away as well. Now when I delved a little bit deeper into these and I thought about it a little bit more, I really think that these two games are going to be quite cagey. I know what you're thinking though, Newcastle and Everton in the relegation kind of battle there, so fixture difficulty is definitely on Leicester's side of things, but I just think Newcastle have been quite defensively assured, and I think that Everton are going to keep it quite tight like they did against United, but I mean Leicester can always score at the end of the day. I do think from a Leicester defensive point of view, these two fixtures look quite strong. I think that Newcastle and Everton, the chances of them scoring isn't as high as other teams, but it's just kind of predicting which players are going to start. And that's what it all comes down to, unfortunately, with Leicester. In the Conference League competition, seemed to be favouring that. We saw Barnes benched on the weekend. Was that kind of rotation, or was that actually him getting dropped? That's kind of a debate that was going on over on Twitter. But it does seem like Rodgers is definitely prioritising the European competition, and that's why there might be one or two options rotated in the Prem. So I think that Barnes, Maddison are probably the best attackers to kind of get if you don't want to go for a Daka or an Iheanacho. I think that Barnes and Maddison are where it's at from an attacking point of view, but just kind of predicting which of those is going to start both. We then move on to Newcastle, in my opinion, have two mediocre fixtures. It's going to be Leicester at home and Crystal Palace at home. The only thing kind of going for them is that both of these two sides have conceded a few goals over the past couple of game weeks, and also these are two home games. So Newcastle at home have been quite defensively assured. We saw that on the weekend with the win against Wolves. So one of the defenders, a Dubravka, a Shaw, Target, maybe even a Burn, look like quite good options. From an attacking point of view, you can always go with the Gucci St. Maximum or Chris Wood. I think personally Newcastle are the team to go for a value point of view. I think a lot of options, maybe even a triple up in most freer drafts, but definitely kind of a combination of cheap assets, fixtures, and then also form. The second last team to address is going to be Manchester United with a Norwich at home game, but then a Liverpool away game. So in my opinion, the Liverpool away game is going to be quite a tough one. Liverpool obviously drawing to Man City on the weekend, so that title race is still on. Going to look for a good performance against United. Is at Anfield, so I think most players should get about 2 points from United there. But the Norwich at home game is definitely one that I'm looking at, and I kind of think that this is going to be a great result for United. But yes, against Everton, that was a bad game, but I do think they're going to look to rebound after that at Old Trafford. Going against Norwich, you're basically relegated, even though they did win on the weekend against Burnley. But I think United should do quite well in here, and I think that's why Bruno Fernandes and Ronaldo are the standard captaincy options for double game week 33. The final team to touch on is going to be Southampton, who have Arsenal at home and Burnley away. Unfortunately though with Southampton, they seem to be on the beach, even though some people have been saying they aren't, but a 6-0 to Chelsea begs to differ, and that's why I think in terms of double game week assets, I wouldn't probably be going for any of these. That Burnley away game should be quite a close one. The Arsenal home game is also going to be quite a tight one, and therefore from a defensive point of view, you won't go for them, but from the attackers, I can't really opt for anyone unless you want to go cheap for someone like a Broya. I think Ward-Prowse could be an interesting little differential against Burnley, maybe some set pieces, but I still would probably look elsewhere on a free hit. Let me know what you guys think about the fixtures down below. Who's your favorite team to kind of go for? Is it Newcastle with those lovely fixtures, or kind of Leicester with those two away games? And are you trusting United, or do you think they're a little bit dodgy at the moment? But now going on to the actual double / blank game week 33 free draft, what you guys have all been waiting for. I'm going to go over the bench first because not much to talk about there. I've simply gone for a really cheap bench, and if you guys don't know why, it's that on a free hit you want to kind of pump as much money into the starting 11 as possible. And now that the positive tests have kind of decreased, I don't think there's any reason to get a strong bench. Saying that though, I've gone for a Marty who might start both games. There has been some rotation with Fofana back at that centre back position, but I think that Marty's definitely dropped out and he might get a game in the Prem though. Tsimikas, another cheap option. He definitely won't play with Robertson unless Robbo's injured, and Greenwood and McGovern won't start for both of their teams. But now that we got the bench out the way, let's talk about our starting goalkeeper. That's going to be Schmeichel from Leicester. Now, in terms of the goalkeeper, yes, there might be some other options from some other teams. A Dubravka, for example, that you might want to go for from a save point of view. But I think that Schmeichel is the only nailed defender to go for in that Leicester lineup. Newcastle away, Everton away, two great fixtures on paper, and that's why I think you kind of go for Schmeichel, because other positions, you can go for some more nailed options from other teams. Going on to the rest of the defense, as we've spoken about, I've gone for the double up in Newcastle with Target and Shaw. There are some other assets like a Burn that you can go for, but I think Target and Shaw, in my opinion, have slightly more of an attacking threat, even though Burn is absolutely massive on those set pieces. I just favour the fullback and then Shaw, and I think those Leicester and Crystal Palace at home games should result in at least one clean sheet. We then go for a more template pick here in terms of ownership. I've opted for Cancelo against Brighton. Pep Guardiola said that Man City have to win every game remaining in the Prem, and that's why I do think Cancelo will start against Brighton, and that's a great game on paper. Man City always love to do well against Brighton, and I think that Cancelo showed against Liverpool the attacking threat that he does possess, and that's why he would be a shoo-in in my free draft. We're now going to move on to probably the most controversial position of my free draft, and that's going to be the midfield, where I have gone for a 5. The first player to talk about, no controversy there, it's going to be Saka from Arsenal. The only thing controversial is that Arsenal's form is not great at the current moment, but I do think that Saka is the best attacker to go for, and that's why I have gone for him for those 2 away games. I've then gone for 2 single game week players, Heung-min Son against Brighton, which I think is a no-brainer, and then Mo Salah against United, which is going to be a controversial opinion because I've seen many free drafts without the Egyptian, but I just think if you guys want to go for a little bit of protection against his ownership, you can include Salah, as he did look slightly better against Man City. Now what I would do is monitor Mo Salah over this kind of midweek period against Benfica in the Champions League, and if he does get a rest, that's probably the best news possible, but if he does play against them, I'm expecting him to get at least 1 goal. So that's why I've gone for a little bit of a boring pick here, but as I always say, you guys can just downgrade him, maybe go for another Kevin De Bruyne or go for a Maddison or a Barnes if you think they'll start, then you can upgrade one of the other departments with all that money in the bank. My Leicester midfielder of choice is a little bit of a cheap one here. It's going to be Dewsbury Hall, who has those 2 lovely away games. Now my question about this is probably going to be why I've not included Maddison or Barnes, and the reason for that is that I do think both of those are rotation risks with this Europe competition, and that's why Dewsbury Hall, with his current form, I do think Rodgers will continue to play. But this will probably be one of those weak points that you guys will roast me in the comments down below for. But no, I'm not picking Dewsbury Hall just because he scored in the prior game week. Yes, that did raise some attention to him, but he has been starting in that camp slot for Leicester, and that's why I do think he might be a nice asset. The other thingy behind it is that with all these other popular assets, a Cancelo, a Son, a Bruno, a Salah, then you also have gone for a premium striker up front, you need some value in the bank there, and that's where Dewsbury Hall comes in. But as I said, if you guys want to upgrade one department, probably would be this one, and I do think Maddison's the best Leicester option to go for. The final midfielder to talk about is going to be Bruno Fernandes, who will be the captain for my Game Week 33 free. I just think with that extra point over someone like Ronaldo in that midfield department for a goal and a clean sheet, I do favour going for the Portuguese midfielder over maybe one of the other assets. You guys just have to hope that against Norwich at home he does something, because that Liverpool game does not look strong, but it's going to be an extra 2 points or 3 points maybe if it is a boring 0-0 draw. Then finally going to our forward department, I've gone for CR7, yes, over Harry Kane, just because it is that double game week. And the thing about Ronaldo is that he loves a big occasion, and I don't think it gets bigger than Liverpool away in the Premier League. But you guys can obviously just go for Harry Kane if you want to, just maybe find some value in another department, maybe downgrade a target to one of the other assets from Newcastle. But I've gone for Ronaldo, as I think you guys have to if you're going to be free hitting target United assets because of that lovely Norwich at home game. And then our final play in our starting 11 is going to be Chris Wood from Newcastle. In terms of our options in the forward department, there's not many. Maybe a Che Adams or Broy you guys could look at. I definitely wouldn't go for Weghorst, and therefore Chris Wood's the next in line. Now his stats last game week, even though he scored a penalty, weren't too great, but that was against the Wolves side that are usually quite defensively strong, and that's why against Leicester and Crystal Palace I do expect him to get at least 1 goal, and that's why I've gone for the New Zealander. So overall guys, this is going to be the free draft that I would go for. As I mentioned, this is going to be with some template picks, as I do think you guys need some protection in these final game weeks if you guys want to go more conservative, but tomorrow I'll be releasing a video with more differentials that you guys might prefer. Let me know in the comments down below what your current free draft is and what you guys think of mine. Probably some comments roasting me, but this is honestly what I would probably look at if I was to use the chip. But that's basically wrap the video guys. Hopefully you did enjoy it. Please remember to like if you did and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. Tons of content coming up before this double/blank Game Week 33 deadline. So hopefully I'll see you guys for those videos and also the deadline stream coming up on Saturday. But I'm just signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers, bye.